This week, we're gonna finish our name illustration project. So last week what we did was we made a drawing, and each letter of our name is supposed to represent something about us. So we had to brainstorm different ideas about how we could make these objects look like letters that spelled out our name. So for example, my K looks like gardening stuff, my R looks like a record player, my I looks like a paintbrush, and so on. So after you guys have finished drawing it out, today we're going to be talking about how to color these so that they look very realistic and even more beautiful. So I'm going to be coloring mine with colored pencils today. I think that colored pencils work best for really small detailed drawings like the ones that we've made here. If you don't have colored pencils, I would pick crayons second. If you don't have crayons or colored pencils, maybe marker, but really colored pencils and crayons are going to be best for this project. Now, when I color with colored pencils, I like to think about three things to make my project look awesome. Those things are neatness, blending, and value. So I'm going to put that note right here so that we can kind of talk about these things as we go. And I also outlined my drawing with a really fine point black marker because I like the way that looks. If you don't have a fine point black marker, you can skip this step and just leave it pencil. But if you do outline it, don't forget to take your eraser and erase any pencil lines that are left over so that it's just that nice black outline ready to be colored in. All right, now just for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna start by coloring this paintbrush so that you can see how we talk about these three things. So the first thing is neatness. Now neatness is pretty self-explanatory, I think. And I'm gonna kind of zoom in a little bit here so you can really see. Neatness means that whenever I use my colored pencils, I'm staying inside the lines. I'm trying to make my coloring look smooth so that you can't see any scribbly pencil marks. And sometimes a really good way to make your coloring look smooth is if you color all the same direction. So I'm not moving my pencil back and forth in all these scribbly lines. I'm just sort of staying in the vertical direction with my coloring. And I'm trying to fill in all the white area and stay inside my paintbrush. Okay, so that's neatness. That's kind of an easy one. We know that coloring neatly with our supplies is going to make our art project look really nice. Now, the next two things on our list are a little bit special. So the next thing we're going to talk about is blending. Now, blending means that I'm going to be using more than one color on the same area. So let's go up to this little painted tip that I started here. Maybe I want to have this be kind of like a purple color. So I'm going to start by just coloring neatly, just like before. And I was going to leave a little white highlight on my paint here. But then I'm going to mix another color into it. So maybe I don't want this to be just like a regular purple. Maybe I want it to be kind of a red violet color. So here's some crimson I'm going to mix in. And I really like blending colors, especially with colored pencil, because first of all, it's a really good way to get the exact color that you want. Like if I couldn't find that red violet color, I could always create it by just mixing the red and violet together. It also makes your objects look more realistic because in real life, things aren't usually just one flat color. They're kind of a mixture of different colors all put together. So I think that whenever you mix colors like this, it just really gives it a more lifelike look. So there is my red violet created for the paint there. And it's just a lot more interesting color than if I had just picked one. Okay, now value is the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about, and it's one of my favorite things to practice when I color with colored pencil. Value means the difference between lights and darks, and it's sort of a way to make some of your objects look more three-dimensional. So I think that the perfect place to do it on my paintbrush is down here on the handle. So I think I'm going to start with like a brown color here. And on one side, I'm going to press really hard with my colored pencil. Still coloring neatly, I'm always thinking about neatness. And then as I get closer to the other side, I'm going to gradually start lightening the pressure of my colored pencil so that it starts to get a little bit lighter in value. And what that does, it makes it look like one side is in shadow and one side has a highlight on it. And when you put shadows on your objects like that, it makes them look three-dimensional. So I'm just using the same color here, but pushing hard on one side and light on the other. And I can even do value using more than just one color. Like if I want to continue that on the silver part of my paintbrush, I might take a little bit of this black and kind of shade that in on the same right-hand side to give it a little bit of form as well. Cool. And I also like to think about things like texture, like if I want this to look like wood, maybe I go in and press in a little bit of wood grain in there just by adding some lines. There we go. That looks kind of more realistic. So just the more time you take to add these little details, these different shadows, the different color blending, the better your project is going to turn out. I finally finished coloring my illustration. So I tried really hard to color neatly everywhere, and now I'm erasing any smudges that were left. And I didn't do value and blending every single place, but I tried to do it as much as possible. Some of my favorite places where I did value were on round objects like the crayons and on the cup, because it was really easy to make the sides dark and the middle lighter to make it look three-dimensional. I also got kind of proud of my spoon. I tried to do it on my shovel a little bit as well. So I really think that the places where I did value and blending look a lot more realistic. They're kind of my favorite places. So don't forget to post a photo of your finished colored illustration so that I can give you some feedback for it. I can't wait to see what you make.